305 is this weekend, and for that, I'm going to be giving you my full card prediction, starting from the early prelims going to the Elf on the Shelf and Dog Diddler main event. So let's just hop right into the video. So Jesus Aguilar versus Stuart Nichols starts the card, and I think this is probably the easiest fight to predict on the card. Jesus Aguilar has been known to have a weakness to wrestlers. He was controlled by Tatsuya Taira. I forgot the rest of his opponents, but he has been controlled and wrestled in the past by a lot of different people. And the thing is about Stuart Nichols, he is a wrestling-based prospect, so this will be probably a breeze for him. Jesus Aguilar is pretty good on the feet, and I do think he can hold his own, but I do think he's kind of overrated in that sense. I saw MMA Guru calling him crazy for like having a little bundle of energy and spaz, but I just think Jesus Aguilar, he's pretty mediocre everywhere, and Stewie Nickel has proved time and time again to be a different animal on the floor, and I just think that he's pretty, and also Stewie Nickel, he's pretty solid on the feet. I think people are kind of seeing him as just this one-dimensional grappler, but I do think he will be able to hold his own against Jesus Aguilar, and yeah, I think this fight's a lock, so lock it in. I have Nickel sub-round 2, so yeah. Glenn versus Song Kanan. In this fight, I have Song Kanan by decision. The thing is about Song Kanan, he's very solid. He's a Muay Thai style fighter. He will always be on the back foot, throwing very limited combos, just maybe 1-2s, maybe just something real fast. And that's kind of his style. And the thing is about Ricky Glenn, he kind of reminds me of a Make-A-Wish kid. He kind of looks like it, just all grown up. Even though he has that great win against Joaquim Silva, I do think Ricky Glenn is kind of overrated. He's 30, or not overrated, I don't think anyone thinks he's good. He's 35, he's pretty old, he has trouble closing the distance, and the only time I really see him having success is when he's fighting another guy who's getting up in that phone booth area and slugging it out with him. And Ricky Glenn has been chinned by his last two opponents. Just not a smart move to pick Ricky Glenn. And even though he's powerful, even though here is a chance he can chin Song Kanan, I just don't think he'll be able to close the distance enough to do that. And I don't see anything from Ricky Glenn on the feet where he's just going to completely dominate this fight, or, grappling-wise. And I do think Glenn KO is possible, but that's, just looking at that guy, bro, I'm not picking a KO by that little goober, bro. I just got to be honest. And yeah, so let's just hop on to the next one. Alex Reyes versus Tom Nolan. Now, this fight is the battle of the chinnies, bro. Both of these guys get blown by a gust of wind, and they're doing the chicken dance. Tom Nolan is a pretty okay lightweight. The thing is about Tom Nolan, he reminds me of a shittier Dan Hooker, where he's just kind of slower, and even though he has the good combos, when reacting, he's a very good counter striker. I just think Tom Nolan has very little power. I think Tom Nolan is kind of overrated on the feet. I gotta stop saying overrated. I just don't think he's as good as people are saying on the feet, where he does get success, but the thing is he'll leave his chin open, and with him being chinny, it's just not a good recipe. But the thing is, he's fighting Alex Reyes, and Alex Reyes is probably the easiest fighter you could go up against. This guy, like how I said Ricky Glenn was a Make-A-Wish fighter, I don't know how Alex Reyes is still in the UFC. He's been chinned his last couple appearances out, and even though I think that Tom Nolan is kind of overrated on the feet, I think he's kind of slow. I think that his combos are good, but I just think a lot of the time, for what he's doing, there's so many more opportunities for the other guy to KO him or something like that. But Alex Reyes sucks, so. And I haven't seen a single good thing from Alex Reyes, so even though I do think he might be able to slow it down a little bit with a shittier fighter in front of him, he has been fighting some good fighters recently. I do think Nolan has little power, and I think that'll be able to get it done against Reyes. And if he gets in a rhythm, which Tom Nolan will get in a rhythm eventually, I think he will win. So I just think Tom Nolan actually deserves to maybe be in the UFC, and Reyes does not. So yeah, let's just hop on right in the next one. Burns versus Jack Jenkins. Now, the Herbert Burns narratives. It's pretty obvious to see when you watch him that he's quitter. I mean, Herbert Burns is very skilled on the floor, and I think he can get it done against some shittier competition. But Herbert Burns has proved time and time again that he cannot hang on the feet, and that after a little adversity, he will be crumpled up on the floor. And I just think that Jack Jenkins is given a layup. There's really not much to talk about in this fight other than Jack Jenkins and how much he's going to maul Herbert Burns and when he is. I think Jack Jenkins will take a little bit to figure out Herbert Burns. He has been out of the octagon for a year after the Chepe Maris skull loss, which wasn't even that bad of a loss. He just broke his arm in the middle of it. But Jack Jenkins, I don't think he's going to I don't think he does the best with wrestlers, but I don't think it matters. But I'm imagining kind of a Ryan Hall game plan for Herbert Burns, just maybe like a rollover type of thing, roly-poly-esque performance there from him. So we'll see, but I just think Herbert Burns is kind of a clown. So let's just hop on to the next one. Josh Colabau versus Ricardo Ramos. Now, even though a lot of people are picking Josh Colabau, I do have Ricardo Ramos winning by a quick first-round KO, and I know that's kind of stupid for me to pick, and I know Ramos in every fight starts off with a bang, knocks the other guy down, and then ends himself up in a guillotine. He's lost by guillotine in his last 2 opponents. I just think he's goofy and silly, and even though I know Josh Colabau is kind of has a weakness on the ground, I just think that Ricardo Ramos has a bigger advantage than anyone thinks on the feet. And even though Josh Colabau's fast, even though he can avoid shots, even though he has a lot of high caliber wins, Colabau has no pop. And when you do not need to respect anything from the other guy, I just think Ricardo Ramos can impose his will. And yeah, I just think that if it goes to the floor anyways, Colabau hasn't shown any finishing potential off of his back. And I just think that anywhere, unless Ramos gasses out, and I don't think he will because I think he'll get it a finish early, I think that he'll still be able to kind of control, I guess. But I do think Ramos might get clipped, but I just think that Josh Colabau has noodle arms. I think he's kind of a midget, and yeah, so let's just move on to the next one. Now, Junior Tafa versus Walter Walker. Another heavyweight fight, don't gotta think too hard about this. But Walter Walker, I watched his fight back with Brzezinski, and I was pretty confused on what he was good at. I know he was a wrestler. I know he was taking him down. But it wasn't like he was a crazy finisher on the floor. It wasn't like he was going for subs. It wasn't like he was even going for ground and pound. It was pretty much just hold and maybe a flimsy shot every once in a while. And Walter Walker lost, let's just repeat that, lost to Lucas Brzezinski, who loses to everybody, gets KO'd by anyone, and he made Lucas Brzezinski look amazing. And I just think Tafa is a better boxer, and it doesn't really take much to get wins in the heavyweight division. And if he's just smart about it, uses his glory kickboxing, striking, I think it's just pretty easy. And Walker has a pretty bad gas tank, and I just think even though he went those 3 rounds, he was pretty much done by the end of it. And Tafa is just a better overall person than Brzezinski, and Walker's getting a step up in competition. So I just think even though he's like Johnny Walker's brother and he's like 7 foot and he's like pretty much a final boss in a video game series that you play, just pick the Australian. It's easier that way. So let's just move on to the next one. Prates versus Li Jitliang Phut Latugan. Carlos Prates is a prospect I've been looking at for a while now. When he just made his debut against Travis Giles, I was like researching him before. I was being like, Prates is going to be a problem, bro. I wasn't sure, but I was donating to Lucas Tracy, asking him if he thought I needed clarification that Carlos Prates was a good prospect, and he's shown me that he has been a great prospect. And I'm just not going to pick against someone who's ran through, I know he didn't run through Giles, he had a tricky first round, but then eventually figured it out and absolutely laid him out. And then against the Charles Radke fight, just absolutely dismantled him with everything. Charles Radke didn't have anything. And even though I do think Jitliang has good boxing and I think he has solid power, I just think that he looks for the counter too much, and I think Prates will be able to use his feints to get him open and be able to land something on Jitliang. And even though I do think that it'll be kind of closer on the feet than most people expect, I think that Jit Liang just he doesn't really have much what's it called? He doesn't really have too many like variety in his shots. It's like a lot of just counter hooks. It's a lot of good boxing, and I do think that works. But with Carlos Prates, with his all-around game, his kicks, I just think that it's just a clear Prates victory. All signs are pointing at that. And even though I do think Lee might be able to get him on the floor, I don't think being a taller guy, Prates will be able to hold him off. And I trust the cigarettes before the UFC fight, so I'm just going to believe in my boy Prates. But I wouldn't mind a Jit Liang win. I can't lie. Jit Liang is a very fun fighter. Tai Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Now, this fight, who knows? Who the fuck knows? They're both big boys who swing hard. And the reason why I'm picking Jairzinho is because he looks more reserved when he's doing his big, meaty shots. Jairzinho, for what he looks like, you would expect this guy to sprint at you with Derek Lewis type hooks with these knees and just like blow his gasket. But Jairzinho is just a very reserved fighter. He's always kind of on his back foot. He's using his jab. He's a really nice jab. And he has really good striking defense. And I just think Tai Tuivasa, with his fighting style, with what he usually is about, I just think he's going to get way too careless. He's going to get way too open. And after Tuivasa's lost his past, like, 3 now, is it? It's just not a good look or it's not a good idea to pick you anymore, in my opinion. But this one's pretty tough. I just think that Jairzinho, if you're going to pick a heavyweight in a strikers match, pick the one that's safer and the one, because they both have drop dead power. But I just think that Rozenstruik will hit him with a jab or something, and then Tuivasa will get rocked. Or maybe just like a Rozenstruik catches Tuivasa coming on the way in. And yeah, even though I do think Tuivasa has probably better boxing than Rozenstruik, I just think that the Sean Strickland approach always goes right, man. And Jairzinho is a big boy who can take a lot of shots. So I don't think a KO from Tua's... It is possible, but I just think it's less possible than, what's his name? Fucking Rozenstruik. So, yeah, that's my prediction for that. Mateusz Gamrot versus Dan Special Needs Hooker. This is an interesting matchup, and even though it's tempting to pick Dan Hooker, Scamrot always scams. And I think if Scamrot's having a competitive first round with Rafael Fiziev, who, in my opinion, is a better striker than Dan Hooker, I think that he can make it the entire 3 rounds with Dan Hooker. And even though a lot of people are probably going to say how not a lot of people have taken Dan Hooker down, when they have tried, it's really easy. Dan Hooker really hasn't been tried on the floor yet. And I do think Dan Hooker is slower on the feet than a lot of people remember. I think the Jalen Turner fight, it kind of showed how Jalen Turner was better everywhere. It was just Dan Hooker's autism kind of helped him through that. And I just think that Mateusz Gamrot, he's way too good on the floor. I think he'll be easily able to control Dan Hooker. And I think Gamrot, he's so hungry, bro. This guy wants a title shot so bad. He wanted the backup for every single lightweight title fight that's happened. And I just think that Hooker is just kind of unreliable with all of the autism going up on there. And he's never kind of... The thing is, it's just... He's never really... I don't know. I don't think he's going to have a crazy powerful shot like RDA to stun him and then have a better ability to have a finishing sequence. I just think Gamrot has already showed over and over that he can survive guys like Dan Hooker. So I think it's a pretty clear pick, but hopefully we see Dan Hooker win this. So let's move on to the next one. Kai Kara France versus Steve Erceg. In this fight, I do have Steve Erceg winning a decision, and I'm not going to try to make this into a total hate video on Kai Kara France, but I just think Kai Kara France is a simpleton on the feet. And even though everyone hypes up the striking of Kai Kara France, it's just not there to me. Whenever I watch his fights, I pretty much know what he's going to throw after the first round because he spams it over and over. And that's the inside low kick, overhand, run away. And even though that works none of the time and works maybe once, it just gets him countered most of the time. Steve Erceg is a different type of boxer. He's a different type of animal. He's always in the gym. He's one of those guys that they're not really entertained by anything else. They don't really have any other hobbies. They're straight just fighting over and over. And I just think that Kai Kara France is a simpleton on the feet. And with the pressure Steve Erceg brings to the table, Kai Kara France won't be able to do anything. What, like, the overhand will do something? No. I just think that if Steve Erceg keeps it slick, keeps it inside, there's no power coming back from him in, like, anyway. Like, I know he knocked out Cody No Love, but who hasn't at this point? And Erceg is better pretty much everywhere. After seeing the Pantoja fight, I am confident to say that I think Erceg will be able to outmaneuver Kai Kara on the floor, and yeah, I don't think it will be close. Kai is very boring, and I just don't like him as a fighter. Watching that Amir Albazi fight really showed me the state of the flyweight division and how bad it was. So, yeah, that's my prediction for this. Adesanya versus Dricus du Plessis. I do have Dog Diddler KO by round 3, and I know that's controversial. I know. I want Dricus to win, man, but I just think that Izzy is a safer pick in this option. I just think that Izzy has trouble against people who do not overcommit on their shots, guys like Alex Pereira, guys like Sean Strickland, with very good defense. And one thing that Dricus du Plessis is not known to have is the best defense. And even though he can use his head movement to bob and weave out of the way, I just think that he's kind of a stylistic dream for a style bender. He's going to be trying to close the distance a bunch, and even though I don't think Izzy will immediately be able to stop it, I do think that eventually Izzy will be able to find a shot that stuns Dricus, and I just think that the counters will definitely be a factor. And even though I think that Dricus's blitz style is better than what most people think, a lot of people are just like always like, how does it work? How is he champion? I do think it is very smart. I just think when you're facing a guy like Izzy and you know what he's going to do, and I know that thing on the bottom that says hard to game plan versus Izzy. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking when putting that, but yeah, I just think that you know what Izzy's going to do. You're going to have to close the distance, and Izzy knows what he's going to do. So he's pretty much gearing towards a counter, and I just think he'll get it. I think that Dricus will have success wrestling early, and I do think that Dricus could clip Izzy on the way in. I think Dricus is powerful and definitely has better capabilities of stunning someone than Sean Strickland, but I just think Izzy will clip Dricus, and I just think Dricus, even though he is very durable, Adesanya, when countering, using all 100% power on his shots, is a demon, to be honest. I know people look at Adesanya as what he is and as a dog diddler, but he's still a good fighter, and even though it's hard to say, it's just you can't pick against the Adesanya storyline with this. And Dricus, even though he has good timing, good. I know people are going in the X's and O's about it, just talking about the timing and his head movement and the way he goes in and how that's going to help him against Izzy. And I know we can go into the nook and crannies of all of this, but in the end of the day, being someone needing to close the distance against Israel Adesanya is not really the best move. And I know Robert Whittaker had a lot of success with his ninja blitz, but I don't think that du Plessis will have the same success as him after Adesanya coming off of a layoff, and will probably be looking the best we've ever seen him. So, and I don't think Dricus will finish him. I do think he has power and ability to stun him, but I don't think he'll finish him. So I know the later rounds will definitely be in favor of Dricus, but I just think that I won't even get there in the first place. And yeah, so I have Israel Adesanya by 3rd round KO. Guys, that is my video for today. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like, all that stuff. And yeah, subscribe, and see ya.